Hello, artists, and welcome to episode 2 of the Artist Journey. On today's episode, I get to chat with the incredible Monotone Ink, a webcomic artist best known for his web series Project Shade. We cover the topics of our inspirations, writing genuine stories, and many more lessons we've encountered along our journey as artists. I reckon, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Was there anything else you want to say before we go?
Um, no, I have nothing to say.
All right then. Then I think that concludes the interview. And
All right then.
awesome. Let's get started. So first of all, okay. So thank you very much for joining me today, Mono. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, everyone joining us today. So today we're here with Monotone Ink, the incredibly talented webcomic artist. So,
Hey, up.
or for short, Mono. So
Mono.
welcome to the stream and thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So let's get started with the questions. So this is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and tell a lot of our listeners about who you are and what is it you do. So, first question is, what are you working on now?
What am I working on now?
Mm.
I'd say my big main project is a webcomic. Oh, I'm so popular. I'm sorry. Uh, my big main project right now is a webcomic called Project Shade. You can find it on Webtoon, Tapas, wherever. Just search it
Mm,
up on Google, you'll find it.
mm,
Um, But I guess these days I've just been drawing comics day in, day out, writing little bits of chapters, and yeah, just constantly working on that. That's pretty
mm.
much what I do.
That's awesome. And that webcomic Shade, I've been reading it. I've been keeping up to it, and it's pretty hectic. It's pretty awesome. And not only but it's been going through a number of iterations and been around for a while. So how long have you been working on Shade? Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Oh God. Um, yeah, so my current webcomic has a very long history.
Yeah. Okay.
So it started when I was in high school. I must have been in what, year 8? So how old was I? 14,
Mm,
14, 15. And initially, I really wanted to make a comedy comic of some sort.
mm,
So I had my group of friends. I had some paper. I had a pencil, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be great to like make a funny little comic?
mhm.
So I did that. I forgot what was it called originally. My Not So Ordinary Life.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's basically my ordinary life except with the extra words. Yeah, so it was weird.
Mm,
So I was making that for a while as like a side project as a little student. And then after a while I thought, hey, I want to do this again, but better. So
mm,
I did that. But along the way I started reading up on, I guess, reading and watching more media, and my interests kind of shift, and I thought, hey, I want to make something completely different, but I'll use elements from all the comics I've made prior.
mm,
And that's pretty much how Project Shade came to existence.
mm. So
Yeah.
you said that there was how many years ago would that be? That would have been about
Oh
probably
God.
5 6 years probably in the making.
6 years? Yeah, 6 years. Well, at least like the very first tiny little iteration. I don't even
Mm,
consider it as Project Shade. Like it's a completely different beast.
that's awesome. And how does it? So what does Project Shade look like today? Like by the looks of it, I've been finding it quite everywhere online, and you've built quite a big good following. Not just on Tapas, but a number of platforms.
Mm.
And it's actually been reviewed by a whole number of readers. And it's looking very very high. I've been looking. It's one of the highest rating um, manga you could find on a few of the platforms that I looked at. So
Wait,
how do you?
do you mean like legitimately reviewed? Like they wrote full on?
Oh well, I saw a number of stars, so I
Oh,
think
right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. All right. I see.
yeah, yeah, on places like Manga Decks and that such.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I was wondering, how do you feel about it now? How do you feel that from where Project Shade was before and to where it is today?
Um, Honestly, I don't feel much.
Yeah,
I don't
just
feel
in general, or
yeah, in general. I guess I'd say I'm really gratitude. I'd
yeah,
say that's the one big word to
yeah,
describe my feeling of it. Because I mean, I never thought so many people would be reading it, even though I still consider Project Shade to be relatively small
hmm
in terms of like the webtoon field. Like I'm super glad that I have like what 1,000 people or
hmm
more like actively reading it. yeah, it's pretty exciting. I like that.
Mm. And
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. And you mentioned that you've been working on a couple of other projects, and I want to take a little bit of time to talk about that. So most recently, I want to talk about the your silent manga competition as well as your. Are you allowed to talk about the other competition you're working on right now?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Awesome. But yeah, the other one, Iron Lungs. And I want to know what have you learned from those projects built on Project Shade? Because I was really impressed with them, and I've already told you
Yeah.
how much I love both of those comics, and particularly the silent manga competition, which you actually won an award for. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not just a webcomic artist; you're an award-winning webcomic artist.
It's like such a one-time award, though. It's like a one-time thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, when was Silent Manga, the Silent Manga edition? I think that was around last year.
yeah.
Must have been last year. For people that don't know what it is, the Silent Manga edition, it's an international manga competition. The only rule is that they give you a theme, and you're not allowed to use dialogue,
Mm,
and it has to be right to left. So you have to tell the entire story through pictures, expressions,
mm.
so on and so forth. So I participated in one of the rounds last year, and I managed to get an award, like third prize. That was
Awesome.
a funny story though. So like I think three of us got third prize because it was
Okay.
called the Excellence Award, right?
Yeah.
And then I think there was the Grand Prix runner-up, a
Mm,
Brazilian duo. They
mm.
got that, but no one got the top prize. Yeah.
No, no, no one was deserving of
Yeah,
the of
no
the
one.
of
Yeah, I think they
the.
literally said that. Like, if you read between the lines, like, I think the judges, they were actual like colossal
Yeah,
figures of the manga industry. I think
yeah.
one of them did Fist of the North Star.
Okay, wow,
Yeah,
that's
Fist of the
intense.
North Star author. Yeah, like
Yeah.
these are actual legends, and they looked through the entries. They're like, yeah, no Grand Prix prize yet.
There's, everyone's got to step up, but that's incredible. I think that's really
Yeah,
awesome. Did you
yeah,
feel
it's
that?
really cool.
How did you feel about this as a milestone in your journey as an artist? Considering how big these people who are reading a comic and actually decided that it was worthy of an award.
Oh God. I don't know. I'd say one thing that winning the award told me is that my work is at least readable.
Okay.
It's at least readable. Like it's readable in a way that people can enjoy it, even if it's just the visuals. So,
Mm,
good, cool milestone.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy
That
about
that's really awesome, and that's really worth mentioning. That it's really it's those steps, and
it.
we never really know how we're going to get to, especially thinking about Project Shade itself from what it was to what it became. We simply did it because for the sake of doing it, and eventually, if it's beneficial, it grows into something more.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. So there's a little bit about you in terms of your Project Shade, your silent manga, and your Iron Lungs comic, which I think was really, really cool.
Mm.
Before we move on to the next question, let's talk a little bit more about your latest project, Iron Lungs. How do you feel about that? Because looking at that, it felt like a culmination of everything you learned on all the projects that I've seen before. How did you feel your approach to Iron Lungs was, taking a nice short story compared
Mm.
to those colossal stories that you've been working on in the past?
Interesting. I'd say art-wise it was challenging because it was only recently that I bought a Cintiq.
Mm,
Yeah, so like this is the first time ever that I've been able to like draw directly on the screen, and it's like magic.
hmm. Amazing.
But I think I've had the Cintiq for around 4 months, and honestly I'm still getting used to it. Like there are
Mm,
little intricacies to the device that I still need to adapt to. So I
mm,
guess that was one big, not issue. It's just
mm,
big challenge. It was one big challenge when tackling Iron Lungs.
mm,
Um, I think another thing about Iron Lungs I had to consider was the audience
mm,
because Iron Lungs, this was for the Tezuka competition. Yeah, for people that don't know, the Tezuka competition is an annual manga competition made in honor of uh, Tezuka, Osamu Tezuka, I think.
mm,
And before this year, it was actually like a Japan only competition. But for the first time, they're like, hey, we should get everyone from everywhere else to throw in some entries. So for the first time ever, it's global.
Mm,
So when I saw that, I thought, hey, it would be cool to draw something for it, and I did. Iron
mm.
Lungs.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
That's pretty exciting. And I really look forward to. Is that open for the public to read now, or still
yeah,
have to?
yeah. It's
Oh, it is. Okay.
yeah. If you go on the website, you can see all the entries that have been submitted so far.
Oh, awesome. That's really, really cool. Really excited to check out what everyone's response to it. And you received results for that competition already?
Tezuka, no, not yet. The
Okay.
deadline is still next month.
Okay. All the best for it. I personally really loved it. And I can't
Mhm.
wait to see how you get to it. But
Yeah.
that's really cool. Let's move on to the next question then. So, what was one significant moment that brought to you where you are today? To give a little bit of background, these podcasts and all the conversations that we're having with all the interviewers are really focusing on the topic of the artist journey. So, all of us are on different parts of our journey, and that journey looks different to a whole lot of people. So, this is really an opportunity to share with others what our journey looks like and what we feel it could look like in the future or where we're going. So the second question is the opportunity to really look back on your journey and think of, I guess, ultimately your origin story, or like one part of your origin story about a significant moment that brought to you to where you are today.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
One significant moment. I think there are two. There are actually
Okay.
two significant moments.
Mm.
So I'm a weeaboo.
Self-admitted.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's the wrong term. But yeah, I do enjoy anime
Mm,
and Japanese media. And a lot of it started with, I guess, discoveries of anime as like a little kid.
mm,
So maybe let's start when I was 8 years old, you know.
mm,
So everyone knows what Naruto and Dragon Ball is, right?
mm,
Like it's just on the TV, but it's kind of whatever. Yeah, it's
mm,
just Naruto.
mm.
But when I was a kid, I found this computer game called Stepmania. Yeah, yeah. So it, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what it is. It's
Yes.
basically it's DDR, but on the computer. And
Mm,
when the arrows come up, you press the arrow keys on your keyboard, right?
mm.
So I found a beat map. Is that wait, no. Is that the right term? Beat
Beat
map?
map.
That
I think
feels
it
like
is. I think it is Stepmania beat map. Beat
yeah,
maps.
Stepmania beat map. Yeah. So I found a beat map for
Or
caramel
it
dance.
probably might have been also beat maps, but something
Yeah.
song song packs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
song packs. I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, but I found a song for caramel dancing. I don't
Mm,
know. That's like a super old meme
yeah. Bringing
page.
back the memories of our younger, more
Yeah.
how embarrassing days, I
Yeah,
guess.
when no one had corona.
Yeah.
Those
There
are
was.
good days. But so I was playing Caramel Dancing, and then on the video, like backdrop, they showed like the ending dance of Haruhi Suzumiya. And I'd never seen anything like it before,
Mm.
like as a kid. I was like, hey, why is this so well animated? Why are the girls so cute? And like, why is this just so fun to look at? So then I asked my cousin, hey, what is this? And he's like, oh, it's Haruhi Suzumiya. Like, what the heck is a Haruhi Suzumiya? So I watched that, and that's where the downfall started.
You enter the rabbit hole. Never
Yeah,
to
yeah.
return.
I'm still going deeper and deeper.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'd say the discovery of Haruhi Suzumiya and I guess anime in general, it introduced me to more intricate storytelling, I guess.
Mm,
It's like kids' cartoons, man. Bro, it's
mm,
cartoons, man. Like
mm.
kids, they watch it. But like with anime, the demographics a little older. Like you
Yeah.
got yeah, young teenagers and stuff, and they want things that are a little more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I liked anime, and yeah,
Okay,
uh,
that's really awesome.
yeah,
That's actually really really point. I mean I know you had two significant moments, so I'll let you move on to the second one.
yeah.
But about the demographics of cartoons, and I have noticed that myself as well. I'm a huge cartoon fan as well,
Mm,
and I've been watching everything from some of the things coming out of Japan. Like most recently, I have a huge obsession with Weathering with You, Tenki no
oh
Ko,
yeah,
as well as some of the other ones that have been coming out recently. But that's my favorite at the moment. But and but also a lot of Western cartoons. So I've actually been watching a whole lot of things like Steven Universe, Star versus the Forces of Evil, and while they are mainly focused at younger kids, I found that more and more they're starting to tackle really, really awesome and mature themes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's definitely much to the kudos of the creators who feel that these are definitely the kind of stories people love to tell. And using I guess Steven Universe as an example, like there's huge themes about like taking on the mistakes of your parents, and also about the responsibilities of growing up, and, as well as a lot of themes about challenge, about sacrifice, a lot about abuse, about single parents, and there's a huge amount of serious themes that go in that show. But even then, the demographic is very much for a younger audience. But I'm starting to see a rise of cartoons that are not necessarily for a younger audience. At a slightly older audience that aren't necessarily anime, but also considered in the Western audience. For example, a good example is Troll Hunters. And I
yeah,
think that's really awesome, because and we can see the progression of Troll Hunters. They're just about to release the third iteration of it, Wizards, and I'm feeling that that kind of hits that spot. That kind of hits that spot in the Western demographic where cartoons aren't just for kids. They really need mature stories, which people in their 20s and older really really can relate to and really can watch.
mm,
So that's really really awesome. And I'm starting to feel that the Western world is starting to shift in terms of the kind of stories which are acceptable to tell.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah, we'll see. And I think it's much to the honestly much to the I would say bureaucratic process of filmmaking in the West. There's a huge amount of money, there's a huge amount of expenses that need to go into it. And what I found in other nations, like Japan in particular, because of um, the huge love or the huge, accommodation of graphic novels and comics, you get a wide range of artists and a wide range of creators that can solely make a story by themselves, but have it read by, you know, tens of thousands of people across the country.
Yeah,
Um,
and additionally, those things are made cheaply in Japan.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
which,
in America, especially with comics, which I think they're pretty much dying out these days.
mm,
Like superhero comics, you got like 4 or 5 dudes working on one comic, and they've kind of like ripped the IP apart into
mm,
different pieces to work. It's kind of like what's the phrase? Too many cooks in the kitchen.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
to,
a too many cooks in the kitchen situation.
mm,
And yeah, it gets weird and expensive, and
this
yeah,
definitely,
I don't know. People
mm,
just don't like that these days.
mm, it's definitely a challenge. I am seeing a lot of a resurgence in Western comics. Marvel, in particular, has been pushing out a lot of things for the younger audience. Like Miss Marvel comic came out a couple of years ago, and there's a new line of superheroes. So there is effort to jump onto different platforms, which is interesting.
Oh yeah,
Before
nice.
before we go into that too deeply, I want to hear about your second significant moment. That'd be really exciting to hear.
Second significant moment, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot when this actually happened. It might have been concurrent with the discovery of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Mm,
I was in the local library. I think I was waiting for my mom to do something, and I was just wandering around, and I find this weird bookshelf with
mhm,
the label manga. And I'm
mhm.
like, what's manga? And oh god, I pick up Monster. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know that one.
Yeah, the detective one, right? Oh,
Yeah,
the doctor.
yeah, the
Yeah,
doctor who has to
doctor.
treat like a kid who got shot in the head.
Yeah,
Like, mind you, I was 8 when I read this.
yeah.
Yeah. So first off, I opened the book and I was curious, like, why is the order strange? I opened it left to right,
Mhm,
and I quickly discovered it was right to left.
mhm,
So I thought, okay, that's cool. And I guess I was first off, I was impressed with the fact that while it was black and white, it completely captured my attention.
mhm,
I'm not sure why, even now. Like I'm still studying. I think there's a whole paper, there's a whole scientific paper comparing Japanese comics and American comics and how they
mhm,
handle reader flow and such. So that's probably got something to do with it.
mhm,
And I guess second off, same notion with the discovery of anime in general, more complex storytelling.
mhm.
Yeah. Monster, I think that's a seinen manga, right?
Yeah,
So as an 8-year-old kind of coming across this, yeah, it kind of just stumps you.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say the discovery of Monster propelled my interest in comic creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I didn't find Monster on that day, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably be drawing some other weird thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
That that's really interesting. So you feel like the discovery of Japanese storytelling, in both in the form of manga and anime, really, by the sounds of it, inspired a lot of your um, artistic journey, or
pretty
the kind of
much.
stories that you tell. And why do you feel that that is significant in terms of compared to other stories that you used to tell in different media or different things you used to watch or read growing up?
Mm, hmm. I'd say I'd say it's a matter of timing,
Yeah.
right? Because when I came across, I guess, anime, manga, and Japanese media, that's around the area when you're growing, especially like puberty. That's when it hits.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess first off, it was exotic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had no idea what it was, where it came from. So it piqued my curiosity very
Mm-hmm.
quickly. And I guess if you're gonna combine that with the effects of puberty, which I'm sure all of you know, I grew a very strong attachment to Japanese media. So yeah, that's probably why I'm attached
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Not bad. That's
Mm.
really interesting. So here, let's move on to the next question then. So about an inflection point. This is going to be about tell me about one inflection point in your life when you feel that everything changed for you on your journey from starting on to when you first started, I guess, your first vision in life or what you expected to be doing. What's something that really changed you for you on your journey?
Right. Um, I'd say my second last year of high school.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I read somewhere that under high stress situations, your body actually codes for new genetic material, right?
Mhm.
So that's when I guess your potential brings out. I don't know, maybe it's pseudoscience. I haven't.
Mhm.
Um, but around exam season of my second last year of high school, I was thinking about starting up Project Shade
Mhm.
because beforehand I made the comedy comic and such.
Mhm.
Um, gave up on that and wrote up like an overall plot for Project Shade.
Mhm.
And there was a long time where I was stuck in writer hell because
Mhm.
I didn't know when to start. I was like, is this outline good enough? Like, do I have enough detail? Are there any plot holes I'm missing? So on and so forth. So I was just constantly going back and forth with the story.
Mhm.
But around exam time, I think it was after my maths exam, I was sitting in the study room with some friends, and I was like, hey, you know what would be funny? If I started this large scale project like right now. Yeah. So I got some copy paper and I started storyboarding. My friends were asking me, what the hell are you doing, dude? I'm like, I'm making a comic, man. Yeah, I should have been studying, but I was like, I really want to start this now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like, that's pretty much where the ball got rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So a lot of I'm really impressed in many ways, particularly for the fact that you wanted to start something so young, but also the fact that you're still doing it all the way to this day, like over half a decade later.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what keeps you going. Like, how do you keep consistent, or I guess, what keeps you making or doing?
What keeps me making? Huh. Interesting. I'd say, like, first off, I don't look too far into the future.
Mm-hmm.
To save my sanity, I've just been thinking about like every step I take.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard somewhere, I think a former Marine, he said, if you want to stay sane, just think about the next 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of like what's gonna happen right now. So I've been running like that so far. And
Okay.
I guess on a wider scale too, I really enjoy writing Project Shade.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like Project Shade is a culmination of a lot of personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it would be a shame to not write about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, what are the words? I have no words. I have no
Okay.
words. I just want to make Project Shade. It just drives me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Okay
all.
then. So how do you kind of take those personal experiences in terms and turning that into a story which you've been planning for a while, where do you see Project Shade taking you? Um, I guess, or where do you see it going?
Hmm. In terms of personal experiences,
Mm-hmm.
huh? I don't actually know, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big nebulous void.
Okay.
But I'd say important important element is that a lot of the characters of Project Shade were originally my friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I guess if you want to psychoanalyze me,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Go ahead and study
yeah,
the.
yeah, I'll try to psychoanalyze myself.
Mm-hmm.
You could say me writing my friends as characters is an attempt of, I guess, figuring out my place in the world. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
guess figuring out my context, like why are these people important to me? What makes them so interesting? Like interesting enough that I'd write something about them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to contextualize. Yeah.
Okay, so the rather than just being a story you want to tell for others, it's kind of become something which you really use to understand yourself through writing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty much what all great writing is.
Hmm. Do you have any particular inspirations when it comes to writing, both within general media, both within visual media, and I guess wider reading?
I really like Franz Kafka.
Okay,
Yeah,
Franz Kafka.
Kafka. Actually, before I talk about Franz Kafka, I should talk about Tokyo Ghoul.
Okay,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Because actually, now that I think about it, the discovery of Tokyo Ghoul could be another inflection point.
Okay.
So because beforehand I liked manga because it
Mm-hmm.
was nice, it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I discovered Tokyo Ghoul, and it was immediately interesting because as soon as I finished the first chapter, I thought to myself, "Wow, I've never read something as miserable as this." Like
Yeah.
everything bad, every possible bad thing that could happen happens to our poor little protagonist, Kaneki.
Mm.
Um, I think through there I discovered Franz Kafka because the author Ishida Sui, he basically like gerrymandered references to Franz Kafka everywhere. So I thought, who the hell is this Franz Kafka dude? And I found his writings, his short stories,
Mm.
and his novellas, especially his most popular one, The Metamorphosis. That's what he's most known for.
Mm.
And I read that, and after I read Metamorphosis, I went, wow, I've never read anything as miserable as this. Yeah. But I guess reading Franz Kafka's work and looking at Franz Kafka's life as well is really interesting to see how he put a lot of his personal experiences into his writing. It's very emotional. He's a very emotional guy.
Okay.
So I admired that. I went, hey, I'll just read more of his stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a pretty big influence to how I
Okay.
write nowadays.
That's really incredible. So you found that not only inspiration in a lot of these a lot of these Eastern Japanese comics and manga, but actually old Western authors as well.
Yeah, old authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you make a lot of references to that when we talk about a lot of your stories. Not only to Kafka, but to also Jung, as well as who was the guy who wrote Cthulhu?
Cthulhu? Oh,
Yes,
Lovecraft.
yeah, and Lovecraft.
That dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and in a lot of your stories as well. And I want to wonder how do you feel that you've been able to reconcile those Eastern and Western inspirations?
Oh. Well, I mean, is there any reconciling to be done? You just mash them together and they turn.
And things just work.
Yeah, they just worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about your own personal life? How is you mentioned that inspiration definitely comes from the friends and the people you meet. How
Yeah.
has your kind of like your life growing up influenced the kind of stories that you tell?
Um. Hmm. I wonder. Uh. I'd say. Oh, one interesting thing is that I barely remember anything from my childhood.
Okay.
Yeah. So like my memory is very, very fuzzy, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And I guess so. As background, I was born in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm a full-on flip-flop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we wear there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I left Philippines when I was 2 years old, right? So I don't remember anything from that time.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I moved to Singapore, and I stayed there for around until I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'd say, even though I was born in Philippines, a lot of my childhood was in Singapore. But even then, I barely remember anything from Singapore, like,
Mm-hmm.
bro. And then when I was 8 years old, I came here to Australia, and this is where I've been the past years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd say, you know how people they have childhood homes and stuff or
Mm-hmm.
childhood towns.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they grow up when they're 30, they go back to their childhood town. They're like, "Whoa, this brings so many memories."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I don't think I have much of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really think I have like a childhood home or town to return to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say a lot of Project Shade is, I guess, me attempting to process that.
Mm.
Like, I'll explain. I'll explain a little thing about the main character of Project Shade. He basically has like no memory
Mm-hmm.
of his early life. I forgot what the time frame was. I should know this. I wrote him. Uh, but basically, like his childhood, no memories whatsoever, like wiped.
Mm.
So I guess through him, I've been trying to, I guess, figure out how to live.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's really. And have you had a chance to discover a little bit more
No.
through Reddit? It's still just
Yeah.
being there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real interesting. Since we had a chance to talk about your childhood, little baby Mono,
Oh
let's
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the next question. Looking back on your life, what would you tell your younger self for
Ooh,
based on everything that you've learned to come to today?
what would I tell my younger self?
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm. Man, there are a lot of things you could say to your younger self, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a ton. I'd say, I'd say as a kid, I had a lot of fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept them in my head. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, I rarely did anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could go back, I would tell them, hey, listen, there's never a good time to start anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you have an idea in your head, you might as well just do it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just do it, bro. Like I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
So I went to Philippines. I went back to the Philippines for a holiday around the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Japan
Mm.
for 2 weeks. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I luckily got back before the whole Corona thing like
Yeah.
went wild. So we were like, whoa, super lucky.
Yeah.
And, throughout the trip, I was like, there's this girl I know who lives across the street, and I really wanted to ask her out for lunch, but
Mm.
I've never done that in this past year.
Mm.
So I think what I did when I got back to Australia, I was walking back from university. Like I was walking back from the train station to my house, and it was windy, like really windy. I almost fell over, I
Wow.
think. Yeah. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna call her on the phone and just like ask her out for lunch.
Mm.
I did that. Of course, it didn't work because Corona,
Mm.
Corona
Mm.
happened, and she's
Oh
like,
man.
"Oh, my mom's not really Corona."
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. There's never a good time to start it.
So just start, just do
Yeah,
things when you feel it. When
yeah,
you now is always the best time.
yeah, exactly. Because I'd say like once you get into doing something, it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Feels good to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember before the call, I was super nervous. Like all the spaghetti in my pocket was spilling out.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as I called, I went into like a Zen state. You know what
Mm.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've achieved nirvana,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. So yeah, just do it.
Okay. So take that time and just do things. Once
Yeah,
once you actually have the inspiration to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
No,
I'd
no.
say action comes first and thoughts come later.
I'm sure that can get you in a lot of trouble sometimes,
It,
no?
it can. It can. But like you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So we had a really good conversation about where you felt about you came from your journey, your introduction, significant moments, inflection points, and looking back on your younger self. I'd love to talk a little bit about where you kind of feel like you're going. You already talked a little bit about how you view the future and your projects,
Mm.
but what kind of, I guess, goals do you set for yourself, or have you do you have a vision of the future for yourself?
Do I have a vision of the future? No, because the vision, man, future, dude. It's like, bro,
Hmm.
infinite possibilities. How are you supposed to predict anything?
Okay.
But at least, at least I've been working towards a few things. I guess just continually working
Mm.
and making sure the webcomic is as good as can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say since I don't really like working on one thing for too long, I like
Mm.
to do like short little projects on the side.
Yeah.
So I guess it would just be to continue doing that, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just continue making and
Yeah,
continue
continue
producing.
making and slowly building up, I guess, a good folio or a good collection of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And overall, your project, you seem to have built quite a significant following, and you have quite a nice community being built. Has
Yeah.
that really influenced any of the way that you view your work, or really things just continue as normal?
Um, I think before the readers and such, I thought it was kind of like throwing stuff into the void,
Mm-hmm.
no feedback. Like it's very nebulous and scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like holding an apple but not being able to feel the apple.
Hmm.
It was strange. But once the story actually started gaining traction and people are going, "Hey, I like this." I went, "Wait, really? Yo, no way." And I guess if I lose hope in everything, I at least have incentive to do things for the readers, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Like there are people there reading it, they find value in it, so I may as well, finish it
Mm-hmm.
and keep going with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So really, just being motivated by not only yourself but the readers that read your material.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to have feedback, like good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That that's really fantastic. That's real great. So
yeah.
before we finish off, was there anything final stories or any final things that you really wanted to mention to the viewers that might be listening? You might have a lot of people who might be really interested in doing what you're doing, in terms of really being self motivated and building a webcomic. Is there anything that you'd love to tell them in terms of what it takes? Anything that you really helped yourself, who'd really want to kind of be in positions or do the kind of things that they see you doing?
Mm, I'd say if you're looking to create something cool or fun, um, have a look at yourself first, like where you are. Have a look at all of your interests and like hone in on it with a super duper high tech microscope and analyze it. Like
Mm-hmm.
analyze everything you're interested in. Because like I think the interesting thing about interest is that you don't know why you're interested in things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like the interests choose you, right? The things you're drawn to. So if you're interested in things, I'd say dive into it
Yeah.
full on and analyze it with your heart's content.
Okay.
Um, I'd say, like, for example, if I had to describe Project Shade to someone, I would tell them, imagine if Tokyo Ghoul and Bloodborne had a baby, and they raised that baby for a few years, but then they realized it wasn't actually Bloodborne's kid, it was Nier Automata's kid, which one of them had an affair with a few years prior. Yeah.
Wow. That's is that in the blurb of your of the
Yeah,
webcomic?
I should put it on the blurb.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
That. Mm,
Yeah, I'd say your experience is yours.
mm,
There's no such thing as a boring life, I think.
mm,
The only reason you might find your life boring is because you're not looking hard enough. I think you
mm.
can analyze every single little thing.
Yeah.
and if you keep doing that, you'll probably find something interesting to work from.
Mm. That
Uh, yeah.
that's a really cool point, and I really actually love that you said that. Tell stories which are meaningful to you. And there was one thing that I was talking with people is tell stories which you are quote unquote qualified to tell. And what do I mean by qualified to tell? It's not necessarily that you're overqualified or underqualified, but it means that stories which you really understand and are unique to you. So before I've starting projects, before I've been telling new stories, I really look at every position that I've been. Like I'm in Australia, so cool. So I'm at least qualified to tell stories from that perspective. I'm from this. I have these kind of interests. My religion, my faith, my inspiration. And the cool thing is that you won't make anything generic, because the fact that every single individual is unique in that way means that every single story you tell or every single life will be unique in that way. And if you focus about telling stories that you are inspired by or mean something to you, then you will be telling something that's really interesting.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
actually related to that as well.
Yeah.
I was listening to some lecture. I forgot who the dude was,
Mm.
but he was talking about Dostoevsky,
Mm.
and he was saying the reason Dostoevsky was such a great author and novelist was because when he wrote his stories, he didn't start with a message that he wanted to, I guess, send out and spread. He
Mm.
started with a hypothesis,
Mm.
and he worked and he struggled with that hypothesis until he came to like a conclusion that was natural to him, right?
Mm.
Like for example, Crime and Punishment. I read that and like that, man, that's such a good book. Everyone
Mm.
read Crime and Punishment. It's so good.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. But the thing about Dostoevsky is that he makes his villains or like his antagonists really strong,
Mm.
like really convincing. Like I guess if you're gonna write a story, make the antagonist or the opposing force as strong and like ruthless as possible,
Mm.
so that when it comes time for the hero to, I guess, overcome the antagonist, it's genuine.
Mm.
Yeah, it's genuine. Um, but I'd say if you're gonna write stories, they really should be about things that like you're questioning and struggling with.
Mm.
Because I guess if you start with like a solid message that you want to pump out, it's very liable to become propaganda.
Mm.
Yeah, if you catch my drift.
And it really feels like a lot of those authors that you mentioned, a lot of those European authors like Kafka, like the author of Climb and Punishment. I always struggle with his name.
Yeah.
uh, and even there was a really good one, the author of Things Fall Apart, Chinua Achebe.
Mm.
They really talked about questions that they had themselves, and really things that they could generally talk about. And those are some of the stories that really stick out um, in this world and keep being read. So I'd really love to say, I feel like if people really focus on that, on looking at things that they're interested in, we'll have a great wealth of new and beautiful stories.
Yeah, hell yeah. Everyone listening to this, take this advice on and like make cool stuff.
Yeah. And don't wait for a big producing company to find you or pay for your projects. Just start doing it.
Yeah,
Just
we
make
got
it.
the internet now, man. Like you can share it with everyone.
It's
Yeah,
becoming
like
easier than ever.
like even if Project Shade doesn't make a lot of, I guess, financial success, I'm still gonna be glad that people got to read it at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really exciting.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Thanks for your time today, Mono.
Yeah,
And
no
I think
problem.
it's been a really awesome opportunity to chat with you about where you are feeling you are on your artist journey, how you got to where you are today, and a few of the messages you have when it came to storytelling, telling genuine stories, as well as discovery of different influences and
Yeah.
inspirations throughout your artist journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, it's really exciting to start this project, and I'm really looking forward to opportunities to chat with you more in the future.
Yeah, it's your project. Oh, dude, it's your project, man. Yeah, yeah.
So we'll definitely have a chance to talk to more, have more conversations and tell more exciting stories.
Yeah,
If
all right.
if any of the people listening to this wanted to follow you or wanted to check out more of your stuff, where could they go?
Where can they go? You can go to my Twitter.
Mm,
Go to my Twitter, Monotone Ink. And if you want to read Project Shade, you can find it on Webtoon and Tapas.
Mhm.
But I think if you search it up on Google, it does come up on the first page.
Okay.
I think I'm really proud of that, actually. Like, you can legit just search it up and it'll be there. It feels great.
Fantastic. Google has recognized your efforts.
Yeah.
No, that's really, really great. I look forward to having more conversation with you. And have a nice day. Stay safe and stay healthy.
All right. Don't get the Rona, dude.
That's the goal. That's our
Okay.
plan for right now. Stay inside.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All the best until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for making it this far. If you liked what you've heard, be sure to like and subscribe for even more conversations with talented artists about their own artist journey. If you haven't already, be sure to check out episode 1 of The Artist Journey. There I speak with VFX artists Evan and Damien about their awesome experiences as young artists. Also check out our Discord channel and join an awesome community of people looking to grow and learn. Thanks again, and I can't wait to see you next time on The Artist Journey.